talking with a whole lot of truth. Remedy Revolution is here for you. Ooh. And now here's your host, Aaron Page.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Remedy Revolution. My name is Erin, and today's guest is from the Chemical Free Body. His name is Tim James, aka the Health Hero, and I am happy to have you here today, Tim. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me here, Aaron. Happy to be here.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about your story. How did you get involved in all things healthy, specifically with that mantra of the chemical free body? What made you change your mind, so to speak?
Well, just give a little bit about my background, just so people know kind of the, societal conditioning and parental conditioning that I went through. I grew up over here in Eastern Oregon, which is kind of like living. It's a lot of ranchers and farming and stuff. We had a small, we did Hereford cattle and grass hay and alfalfa hay, and did some leasing land, more of the same. Had a big garden growing up. Used to being out in nature, up in the mountains a lot, lots of hunting and fishing. And then, fast forward at age 37, I had moved down to the big city, which my dad thought was crazy. And I actually went down there for baseball because I played baseball at a high level for 30 years. And so after college was done, that's what was left, right? So I could still work and then play baseball in the evenings and weekends. And it was very competitive. I really enjoyed that. So that's how I ended up in Portland. And then, at age 37, I was married. I had a couple kids, had a house, a couple rental properties. I was a financial advisor at the time, but my health had severely waned. I had gained 42 pounds. My energy wasn't used to what it used to be. I had mental clarity issues. I was really busy too. We had three offices in the financial advising deal, and I was mentoring with a guy to take over his practice. He was getting ready to retire, and I was going to be taking over this. We had three offices, 18 employees. He was netting at the time like over 2 million a year, and I was like gonna inherit all this. So all my friends were like, "Dude, you got it made. You got it made. Like you were so smart hooking up to Jeff." And it was like, I was like, "All right, whew, this is good." So I did the financial thing, and that was all good. But I was also pooping blood, and I had like bright red blood from anal tears, and then I had dark red blood from internal dysbiosis. My gut was really messed up,
Yeah.
which perpetuated skin issues. I had eczema on my knee, started cracking and bleeding, and then it got bigger, and this patch on my knee just kept getting larger every year, and then all of a sudden it spread. I got it on my elbow, then my other elbow, and then I had another skin issue on my back, and actually went down to Peru. My wife's dad's a doctor, runs a big medical clinic down in Lima, Peru, and he sent me over to a plastic surgeon guy, and I think he injected me with some kind of steroid or cortisone, something, and it kind of ate away the fat stuff that was bubbling up, but then it kind of left a dent, and it was kind of purple looking. But okay, then 3 months later, it was like bloop, bloop, bloop. Three more of those things came up around that area, and then I was like, what happens if this gets on my face? So I'm all freaked out, and I hate needles. And then my friend Charles got diagnosed with chronic lymphocytic leukemia, supposedly some incurable blood cancer. He asked me to go with him to a detox and healing center in Florida called Hippocrates Wellness Center. They've been around at the time like 61 years now. They've been in business over 70. His wife originally went there to lose 5 pounds. I was like when they were back in Boston, but they'd moved to West Palm Beach, and we went there January 1st, 2011, to try to save my friend's life. And I thought I was going to lose him because pretty much everybody in my life that had gotten cancer had died. I lost a good buddy of mine on one of my baseball teams, Clay Mahoy, died at age 40 of stomach cancer. My aunt died of melanoma, skin cancer that spread to her lungs and her spine, liver, and all that stuff. And then my grandma died of a brain cancer. And so, but my aunt and my grandma were older, so you kind of figure, somebody gets older, they die of things like this. You don't think much of it. But my friend was 40. He was really fit, but he did chew tobacco. So it was like, that probably went down his throat, got in his stomach. So that one kind of made sense. But now with Charles, he was like the vegetarian. He was like the healthy guy in the group, even though he was 60 pounds overweight, right? So you can be an unhealthy vegetarian. Don't kid yourself. And so we went down there in an attempt to save his life. And when we first got there, the first class that was taught was a 4-hour class called internal awareness. And boy, did I learn a whole bunch of stuff about my body that I didn't know. And I learned to treat my body like a machine, because it is a machine. And it needs certain things. And we were never given an owner's manual to this machine. We're just kind of doing what mom and dad did and what society's telling us to do and what tastes good, right? And so this doctor came out. He was really fit, and by the way, he had turned 50 that day. It was his birthday. And I was like, that guy's 50? I was like, whoa, he didn't look a day over 40, so he looked really good. And by the way, the people that have been working that place after, being there for a couple weeks, I looked around, I was like, the ones that were actually bought into the lifestyle, they look 10, 15, 20 years younger than the rest of the population at those ages. I mean, these people looked amazing. So I know success leaves clues, but I still thought that I was like, how could this podunk place in Florida be helping people with cancer when we've got millions of dollars spent, race for the cure, all these best doctors are at it? I was still caught up in that whole thing. And so I was very critical and suspicious of the whole thing, and I was there to prove it wrong. And I was taking notes and asking lots of questions. So, anyway, back to this class. So this doctor comes out, Dr. Scott. It was Josephson, and he started telling us that the average person, Aaron, has 6 to 12 pounds of impacted fecal material in the colon, and it's disease causing, and it robs you of your vitality because it's creating a very acid, low oxygen environment in the colon and a breeding ground for harmful organisms, bacterias, viruses, mold, yeast like candida, fungus, mutagens, cancers, and parasites. And then he started to tell us about parasites, and it was like, and he's like, and it was like, then he started. Well, first off, they had these it's called virtual colonoscopies, and he said, let me show you the inside of people that are not healthy versus somebody that's been on our program and show you what their colon looks like that's healthy. The first person was a woman who was like 24 years old, and she had thrush, which is like this yeast infection, and some type of thyroid disorder. It's either Graves' disease or Hashimoto's or something. I can't remember. And anyway, inside of her colon, and I'm thinking, oh, great, we get to go look inside of somebody's colon. That's going to be weird. But what would you expect to see? Well, me as an average person, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a clinician or nothing. I don't know what's going on. I'm expecting to see maybe a pink lining and some brown stuff. Poop. That's okay. That's what I think is going to see. Inside of her colon, it was all yellow and white, completely engulfed in yeast. And I was like, whoa, that's not good. Then they went to a 65-year-old male that had colon cancer and parasites. And inside of his colon was black, like midnight tar, and a bunch of white little worms crawling around. And everybody, everybody in this class was like, "Oh God!" I mean, people were literally freaking out when they saw that, And our skin, like everybody was freaking out. Their skins are crawling, and I was like, "Holy crap!" I'm like, that's not good. And then that's when the doctor turned around and said, "Hey, look, this parasite thing is not a third world affair by far." He goes, "Easily 50% of you are going to see these parasites coming out in your stools as you're detoxifying and as you're changing the environment inside of your colon and your body and your organ systems and making it inhospitable to these parasites, these harmful organisms. And some of you will see it; they'll actually come out through the pores of your skin, and like I'm freaked out. Now, the whole purpose of this, he was trying to sell us on colonics. You ever heard of those?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, you done a colonic?
I have, yeah, actually several. When I was in Lyme treatment, I did lots and lots of colonics. So
Awesome,
yes, yeah.
awesome. All right, for your listeners, if you're not familiar what a colonic or colon hydrotherapy is, you basically sit on a tube and they insert a tube rectally and water gently goes in and out of your colon for about an hour and it cleans your colon. That's it. It's just a wash job. It's like flushing the engine out of the tractor or your vehicle if it's not running well. And so they flushed me out. I actually dropped 11 pounds of impacted fecal material in that first 1 hour session. I
Wow.
think, listen to this, the record at the Institute was a lady, and they've done like 700,000 of these colon hydrotherapy sessions because everybody in there gets at least one.
Hmm.
The record was a lady dropped 27 pounds in 1 hour session.
Wow.
And for me, I'm like, numbers, okay, but I'm like visual and I'm like, what weighs 27 pounds? And I thought about a 25-pound dumbbell,
Hmm.
lifting that weights wise. Because I did that as a kid a lot, lift a lot of weights in baseball and stuff. I was like, that's heavy. And I go, what else weighs 25 pounds? I was like, God, a medium-sized dog.
Right.
Like, imagine a medium-sized dog literally falling out of your rear end. Like that's what came out of me. And so I was like, whoa, this is insane when that happened. And then the last picture of that virtual colonoscopy was a woman. It was 45 that had breast cancer. And again, inside of her colon, black like tar, some dark brown stuff. It just didn't look right. Then they went and looked at this healthy person, went inside their colon, and you could actually see the pink lining of the intestine, and there's some brown stuff in there. Okay, that's when the light bulb went off in my mind. I'm like, oh my God, this is an internal game. It's an inside job. And I
Right.
have to go inward. And then when I found out spiritually, it's everything's inside of you. It's like everything we have to do, it's all us. We have to do it's like you get to take responsibility for everything, and then everything can change for you. And so I was outsourcing my health to physicians and people like this that are in an industry that's great for critical care, but it's completely broken for chronic issues. I mean,
Hmm.
I'll just literally say they get an F. It's not their fault. The system's broken. They're good boys and girls that signed up for being the doctors and nurses, but handing somebody a synthetic drug made in a laboratory for critical care, that can
Oh,
save your butt, but
petroleum
not.
based too.
Yeah, but it's
But-
like you have a carbon-based body.
Right.
I have actually a book called The Supplement Safety Guide that I have people read because I've actually helped 12 other supplement companies get their act together. But anyway, so from that meeting, I went and got the colon hydrotherapy session, did all that stuff. And then after, I actually went through some detox symptoms because, it's full immersion when you went there. So I had night sweats, I was irritable. I had actually a metallic taste coming out of my tongue. I
Hmm.
found out later that I was severely poisoned with heavy metals
Hmm.
from a kid growing up loading lead shotgun shells, making lead jigs for crappie and bass fishing. We just around a lot of, spraying Roundup, all this weird stuff, chemicals and stuff. But I had a lot of heavy metal poisoning that came out through a very specialized infrared sauna that I got. But,
Hmm.
after about day 5, I woke up and I felt like I couldn't believe how good I felt. I looked at Charles and I was like, we did our little routine. We went and worked out. We did the sauna. We did the hot cold plunge. We drank our green juice, our wheatgrass shots. And now we're walking back and I'm like, I feel like I'm 18, 15. Like I
Right.
told Charles, I go, dude, my arms are literally tingling with energy. Like we have discovered the fountain of youth, my friend. I go, I know that you're going to heal yourself. There's no question. I talked to so many people that had healed themselves of cancer and they had come back to either just, have a buff up, a reboot, or they had brought a friend that had cancer that they didn't want to die.
Hmm.
So I was like, dude, you're gonna live. Like, and I said, I can't believe I'm gonna say this, but I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna give up all meat except for bacon, and I'm gonna go all in with you, and you're gonna heal. Because I didn't want to lose my friend because I just lost one on my baseball team.
Yeah.
And then I read the China study on the way home, and then I gave up all meat for actually 8.5 years. Now, I
Mm.
do a little bit now and then, and I'm not saying you have to quit meat to be healthy, but I'm just saying that was the path because that place was really like plant-based focused,
Sure.
living foods, lots of sprouts, lots of sprouted nuts, sprouted seeds, sprouted grains, sprouted beans. We can talk about biophotons and why you'd want to incorporate those living foods into your life because your body needs them and what the magic that they do, but at least start getting them into your life, right? So I came back home, got busy. Charles and I got busy on our new life. In 60 days, I dropped the 42 pounds.
Hmm.
All the skin issues were gone on my body. The one on my back disappeared. I was freaking out. I'm like, this is crazy. And then the one on my knee actually took about 8 months because it'd been there for years and it was
Yeah.
large. And so then I started teaching classes. My friends came over and then they saw me. When you lose 42 pounds in 2 months and your friends haven't seen you in just 2 months, and all of a sudden they see you, they're like, dude, what are you doing? And then I just tell them a spiel about everything I kind of just talked about. And I said, I'm juicing sprouts and I change how I eat. And they bring their friend over. Tell Jeremiah what you did. Tell Billy Bob what you did. And I just kept telling my story. So I had to do classes eventually. We're doing them 2 nights a week. We end up having 5,500 people to our home, teaching these detox nutrition classes, making fresh wheatgrass juice and green juices, and serving them a living food dinner. And people
Hmm.
would call me for 3, 5 days afterwards and say, I still have energy from that one night at your house 5 days later from one dose. And
Hmm.
I got to go down and initially and get 7 days of dosing. And then I went back 2 years later and got 2 weeks. And I've been back there 6 or 7 times now.
Sure.
So that's how the whole thing came. I started growing sprouts. We were delivering wheatgrass and sprouts to about 40 to 60 cancer patients a week. I started connecting with local healers and colon hydrotherapists and biological dentists. And I just got really into this stuff. And then eventually I left financial advising. I walked away from a multi-million-dollar paycheck to tell people literally about green juice and sprouts because I'm way more excited about it. Had no idea how I was going to make a living. And now I'm actually, it's been 13 years. I've become a coach. I've coached 750 people through this deep transformation process. And now we have our supplement detox formulated line from Dr. Treadway. And it's, we're all over the world shipping now. And it's awesome. I'm not where I would have been with the financial services thing because we're still a small company, but if we
Sure.
stay in business and people keep trying our products and getting results, they're going to keep telling people. So we're pretty much word of mouth.
Okay, so to kind of take me back to that journey for you from a personal standpoint. So you're feeling horrible, right? You're pooping blood, you've got all of these issues. And then
Yeah.
when you come back, what was the response, the initial response of, say, your wife or kids if you had them, or the general community? Did they think you were off your rocker at that point?
Yeah, well, a lot of people did. And the reason why is because well, first off, I'll tell you it's like I realized that I was going to have to go back home and I didn't have this infrastructure that I had. I mean, they literally just had all the food there for you. You'd
Hmm.
go into this room and open up the fridge and there was fresh cut wheatgrass. You just juice it. They had juicers setting up. So I went into the store and said, "How do I recreate this life at my home?" They're like, "Do you have a juicer?" I'm like, "No." It's like, "Well, you got to get one." Well, what's the best? Because I know I always go best first when I don't want to go buy crappy scuba gear and spend 500 bucks and then like waste 500 and then I got to go spend 1500 to get good stuff. Like if I'm
Right.
serious about something, I want to do best first. And when you're talking about your health, I always tell people go best first. Do
Hmm.
not compromise on your health because it's everything. Your body, the vehicle you've been given this gift from God, if you can learn how to maintain it and heal it and maintain it, then you're going to have an amazing life and you don't have to
Hmm.
live in pain. And so I ordered like $1,100 worth of stuff. I got the trays, I got the seeds, the wheatgrass, the sunflower seeds to start sprouting, and then I just paid for it. And then I called my wife up and I was like, "Hey, might be a package show up before I get home." And she's like, "How much money did you spend?" And I was like, "Oh, 1,100 bucks." And she's like, "What?" She was all mad at me, and I said, "Well, Charles is gonna heal a cancer, and I'm gonna heal, and I feel better, and it's amazing." And she's like, "You're crazy." And then we hung up and package showed up and I got home and I got busy. I started juicing and I started telling my wife about all this stuff and she's like, "I'm not going to stop eating meat. You're nuts." And I'm like, "Okay, whatever." And say you did. But what I found out is that I found all these documentaries, right, on
Hmm.
health.
Hmm.
And we watched one called Food Inc.
Hmm.
like a month later and she was crying and then she's like, "I can't eat meat anymore."
Hmm.
And again, I'm not telling people, I'm not here to say stop eating meat. I'm just saying this is the process I went through.
Sure.
And again, I eat some nowadays. If somebody goes to the coast and catches a tuna fish and says, "Tim, you want a little can of my smoked tuna fish?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll eat it." I know there's probably a little bit of parasites and mercury in there, but I take toxin detox. I have a parasite product now. I know what's going on. But I want to be. I got so caught up and so fanatical that I became like the food Nazi and I started driving friends away from me. Because
Hmm.
what ends up happening is what I've noticed, I actually teach classes on this. When you start changing yourself, you want to start changing everybody else around you to make yourself
Right.
feel comfortable. So don't try to change anybody. Just deal with you. Focus on you. And to hell with what everybody else says or does. They have nothing to do with your life, literally. It's all us. It's all our life experience is about us. It's not about them. Now, it's okay for you when you start changing. Unfortunately, our friends and family members, those are the tough ones. They're like lobsters. If you put a lobster in a bucket, the lobster always crawls out. If you
Hmm.
put two lobsters in a bucket, one tries to crawl out, the other one reaches up, pulls them back down. They're gonna. People don't like it when you make changes because it's a reflection. Now they're looking at. They have to look at themselves, and they're like, "I'm. What am I doing for myself? Nothing." And I don't want to because of fear. Usually fear-based definitions. So they want to stay comfortable. That's why people like to smoke cigarettes together, or drink booze together, or smoke weed
Right.
together, or whatever it is. Like people, they just hang out together and they support each other because they're all doing the same stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know years ago I was a vegan for a couple of years, and until I got pregnant, actually. But at that point, I became really evangelical, and then I realized, okay, I'm not helping people at this point, so I need to take a step back and kind of look at this from their perspective instead of looking at it through my limited lens. Open their eyes, help them to see some of the benefits of, certain foods and things like that. I've since
Yep.
evolved personally, and now I have had Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride on from the GAPS diet protocol, which focuses on plant-based foods for cleansing and detoxing, and animal-based foods for building and supporting. Anyway, I think it's really important that no matter what you're utilizing, that we don't become, the vegan evangelist or the, carnivore evangelist or whatever it is, because people will come to their own conclusions once they're presented with, good information. So I think that's so great. Tell me a little bit about the chemical free body and how that evolved. What was your first product and how did that all begin?
Well, the first product was we were already doing these classes and educating people. We did it under what we called the Sprout Company back then because we eventually just started selling sprouts. After doing that, once I quit financial services, I actually had to do a profit and loss statement on the sprout business we created, and I realized I was losing like $7 a tray. So
Mm,
I was, and in the first 2.5 years, I wasn't even charging people for dinner. I was spending 800 to 1,000 a month to feed people,
yeah.
and I'd go to the farmers markets and get stuff, and I just felt good about it. I'm like, I felt it was such a gift. So then I was like, shit, I had to charge money. So we started charging $55 a class, and people paid it happily,
Hmm.
and they brought
Hmm.
their friends, and it was like, wow, I should have done this before. But and then we bumped the trays up from $20 to $35 plus a $10 delivery fee eventually because the traffic in Portland just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And then so I'm like, this isn't even sustainable. So then we went to drop spots. So
Right.
I was partnered with chiropractors and naturopathic doctors and clinics, and we would just go drop off in like 5, 6 locations, and then people in those areas would then come and pick up their sprouts.
Right.
So we did that. We did that for a while, and then finally, I was on a mission. I was like, I'm going to sell sprouts to the entire nation. That was my goal. But then I met a guy who had been doing it for like 14 years, and he was supplying all the Jamba juices. And he said, "Look, he's like, he goes, your sprout operation that you have in your garage is like the best I've ever seen. The only one I've ever seen better is mine." And he goes, "But I do this for a living." He goes, "It's amazing what you've done here." But he goes, when they come to check you and inspect you, it's not like you're going to an inspector for a restaurant, which you
Right.
think would be the same quality, but they can get a C rating, and they can still stay in business and serve you food. He
Hmm.
goes, if I don't get it, he goes, I have to get an A rating or they shut me down.
Hmm.
Everything has to be perfect because they don't want us in business. They want us gone. And they're going to try to scare people with mold and E. coli and salmonella and all this stuff, which is possible. It is possible to get, but where does that come from? It comes from feces,
Right.
right? So if you go in the cattle yards where the cattle yards are, stuffed into pens where they can't run around in a big area, they're walking around in 5, 6 inches of urine and feces, and that's where E. coli and salmonella comes from. And so, if you're walking around in your boots and then you touch that and you bring it in the house, I mean, this is where this stuff can come from, right?
Hmm.
And so I was like, but I was so hell bent on nature. And then I had this older lady. She was in her 70s. She was very weak. Her kidneys were shutting down, and she came to a class and she's like, I actually feel better like from that sweetgrass shot and these juices and stuff. She goes, I want to get the wheatgrass. So she did.
Hmm.
And then and she drove into town, and for some reason I finally hired a delivery guy. He didn't bring her wheatgrass was gone or somebody took it or whatever. And she's like, I drove all the way into town from Dr. Bailey. She lived clear on the other side of town.
Hmm.
And traffic was horrible. And I was like, oh God, this is gonna be like a 4 hour drive for me to take her a tray of wheatgrass. I said, hey, I'll tell you what, because I was just looking into this green powder juice stuff.
Hmm.
And so I had bought one because I juice twice a day, no matter what, period, end of story. And I was like so fit and felt amazing, healed myself. And I'm like, I'm not stopping doing this. But when I traveled, I sometimes I couldn't get to a fresh green juice, so I wanted something as close as possible. So I
Mm-hmm.
used this one company. They had a big jar. I can't remember the name of it, but it was unflavored, and it tastes like terrible, but I knew it was good, so I'd drink it when I traveled. And then I found a formulator to make even better through this guy who was a chef friend of mine. He's like, I got this guy, and he doesn't let anybody else in, but through me, he'll let you in. So I was actually getting some products from him. He was in his 70s, real healthy, and he was like working 15 hours a day, getting stuff, making this stuff, and sending it out to people. So he made a special formula for me in this green juice, and that was my backup. I had
Mm-hmm.
it literally sitting on the desk when I was talking to this lady, and I was like, I tell you what, I got this powdered stuff that's awesome. And she's like, you said it's not as good as the fresh. I'm like, I know, but like, I just want you to try it. So I sent it to her. She tries it, and then she calls me up. She goes, Tim, I get just as much energy out of this green powder as I do the
Mm-hmm.
wheatgrass, and I don't have to clean the damn juicer
Mm-hmm.
because it's heavy in her shoulder. She's weak. And she
Sure.
goes, I'm in. And I'm like, okay, great. And I just kind of forgot about it. And here I am scratching my head. I'm trying to figure out how to make a living. The sprout things looks like it's not going to work out. The answer was right in front of me. I didn't even see it. And then 2 weeks later, she calls me. She goes, I'm out. I need more of this stuff. And I still didn't see the business opportunity. I'm like, well, this guy's not taking on any more clients, so but I'll call him. And he was very adamant about it. He was like, he barely took me on. And he's like, I can't believe you're even asking me this, Tim. I am not taking on any more clients. I shouldn't have even brought you on. I'm like, I'm sorry. I said, you know what? Just send me 5 pounds of this stuff and I'll bag it up and I'll sell it to her. And that was it.
Yeah.
That's how chemical free body got born. So I bagged it up and I thought, you know what? I'm gonna send this out to like 6 of my friends and just have them test it and see if this is even viable. So I
Right.
sent it out to 6 of my friends, and within a week, 4 of them called me up like, dude, this stuff tastes terrible, but boy, do I feel good. I feel amazing. And so I literally put it in green Ziploc bags and I wrote green and then a little cuss word on it. I was just joking around with my friends, right? Green SHT. And then so that was it. And then so I just started calling my friends and letting them know what I was doing and reaching out to these people that were coming to the classes, and people just started buying it, and then they got results. They started telling their friends, and here we are, 9 years later, and we're selling. We have thousands of customers that we sell to. We're still, again, a small company, but we're growing, and we're looking for more people that want the truth. Because what I found out is that 92% of the supplements on the market are pure synthetic.
Mm-hmm.
Then the 8% that are whole food, herbal, and food based, there's a big percentage of those that are blends. So it's like, wow, they'll put some really cool stuff in there. You'll see like um, maybe wheatgrass or spirulina and adaptogen mushrooms like reishi and chaga and lion's mane and but how much, and then like enzymes and probiotics, some buzzwords. They'll just literally look up all the buzzwords that people are hitting on, put a formula together, and it's cheaply made,
Mm-hmm.
and then they'll cheapen out. Look on a multivitamin. If your multivitamin says vitamin C, and in parentheses behind it, ascorbic acid. That's a
Right.
synthetic made in a lab. It should say behind it in parentheses, amla berry or Arceola cherry or
Mm-hmm.
camu berry or
Mm-hmm.
rose hips. These are the natural forms. It should all be spelled out. That's how you know you have a whole food form. So if I look at any multivitamin or any product, and if it says ascorbic acid, even go look on your green juices, these green powder blends. If you see ascorbic acid, then that company either doesn't know what they're doing, especially if they're promoting or touting this natural food stuff, or they don't care, right? And so that makes me suspect to everything else. Or look out for things that say natural flavors. For 70 years, that means only 10% has to be natural by law. The other
Right.
90% can be synthetic, and guess what? Almost every time it is because they're cheaper, right?
So tell me a little bit about your shirt says ingredients matter. I,
Yep.
I couldn't agree more. So tell me a little bit about why the ingredients in your green powder is superior, let's say, to something you could grab off the shelf.
Well, first off, you would have to go buy probably about 2 to 6 jars of these other things to equal one pouch of what we have in Green 85. And by the way, these are new because we used to have ours in jars too. We now have completely 100% compostable, sustainable packaging, so that the you can feel good if it gets flying out in the woods or something. In 3 to 6 months, depending on the weather, it's going to turn into dirt. Even the
Hmm.
zipper, like it's completely compostable. So we're very excited about that. So the difference is that it's me. Like I'm fanatical about this stuff. And I created this for me. I want it to be as close to a fresh pressed juice as possible. Now, to do that, when you look at an ingredient, like the main ingredient we have is wheatgrass. Okay. It's being studied and has been for years at Oregon State University, one of the top phytochemical or plant nutrient, phytonutrient facilities in the world. And back in, I think, 2010, they had found 70,000 nutrients inside of wheatgrass that have the ability to heal and prevent disease. 2 years later, they were at 74,000 phytonutrients that could heal or prevent disease, and they're still counting. I don't even know what it is now. But so we don't know. There could be hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of these nutrients that are in plants, living plants, that have the ability to reverse and prevent disease. Why wouldn't we put our stuff in that? Especially in the modern world where we don't have access to it we'll get into all this. So so what we did is the difference is that it's basically Dr. Treadway.
Hmm.
I went through over 30 labs to find this guy because I was looking for a lab that understood the biophotons and the energetics, the life force, as you would
Hmm.
call it, inside the plants. That can be measured at the end of the deal once it's processed and put into a bag by something called Kirlian photography that can
Hmm.
actually measure the energetics. I asked every single lab, do you have a Kirlian photography machine? None of them said yes except for Dr. Treadway. He's like, oh, yeah, we have two of those. And I was like, whoa, whoa, this could be my guy. And then we kind of hit it off. He became a father figure, a mentor, and eventually kind of a colleague in arms as he stayed on from retirement to support my growth and get me launched into the industry so I could kind of take over what he was trying to get out to the world. And so I piggybacked off of 41 years of him sourcing raw
Hmm.
materials from the right farms and the right wholesalers to create our product line. And he said it actually took him 21 years to get all of his sourcing in place.
Hmm.
21 years. So I literally piggybacked, leveraged all that. And then had his genius because he studied Indian herbology, Chinese herbology, Western herbology, and he knew how to formulate. So his formulas with the right materials, and then it's my job to just get them out to people. And so that's where I'm at right now. I'm trying to get because he passed away. He slipped and fell when Texas had that snowstorm a couple years ago,
Yep.
and his back was messed up. And he's like me. He knows every way natural to heal. He did all this stuff, and he's like, Tim. He goes, it's a mechanical thing. He goes, I have to go get surgery, and the surgery killed him.
Mm.
It was,
Yeah.
it's two friends actually that I've lost in back surgery. So, um, it just, you never know on that kind of stuff.
Right.
But anyway, so that's it. It's like it's really awesome. All the ingredients are, sun dried or air dried under 110 degrees to keep the enzyme active. We put zero chemicals in them, period. Because if you go look at the umbilical cord studies, and in fact, when you guys are done listening to this episode, just go type in your browser umbilical cord chemical. Umbilical cord chemical. You'll see the same studies that I saw go back to 2005. Every single child that they test in the umbilical cord blood is full of toxic poisons that cause cancer. Like that one study showed they looked for 400 chemicals. They found 250 of what they were looking for, 71%, and 180 caused cancer in humans, and 212 caused developmental and brain disorders. It's
Hmm.
like it's all your children are already poisoned in the womb.
Right.
And I actually have an ebook, what we call it, "Dying in the Womb," is what we called it, and it's insane. But that's the world we live in. And the older you are, the more time you've had to breathe in, drink in, eat in, absorb in through your clothing, your personal care products, the air, the water, all this stuff. You've had time to bioaccumulate more toxins into your fat and your muscle tissue. And so the scary thing is that those tests are testing the blood serum. The concentrations of chemicals are actually 500 to 1,000% higher in the fat and the muscle tissue. Let that sink in for a little bit. And also realize that there's over 100,000 chemicals out there commercially that are allowed, and they only tested in that one sample for 400. So if we extrapolate that
Yeah.
out, if there's 100,000 chemicals and 2,000 new chemicals every year, and only 1/4 of 1% are actually tested, the rest are just released out into the market, that means we have about 71,000 potential chemicals, roughly on average, that will be in our body system. I would call that a body burden. Okay. And you can't
Right.
see it. So that's when I sat back in my chair and I'm like, oh my God, everybody's polluted. And I have to
Well, and the
tell
crazy thing is like that doesn't even account for things like, heavy metals or infectious diseases or any of these other things that, we're finding, particularly, in the population that I'm working with, are carried from the mother and given to the child in utero. And so, yeah, it attributes to that overall toxic burden, right? So then we're bringing kids into this world and they're already overloaded. So it doesn't take much to fill that bucket, if you will, and start to see,
hmm
symptoms.
Yep.
Um, okay, so I want to talk to you about, I know you've been coaching lots of people through this process. So do you have one or two success stories that you could tell us about people that have just done amazing things?
Yeah, I got lots of them. So it's like, but the thing of it is like, it's not about me. Me as a coach, what I do, and I'm not a doctor. I don't claim to be. I tell people right up front, it's like, and the reality is I don't heal anybody. I healed myself. That's the only person that I can heal. And the only person that's going to heal you is you, right? So what I do is I provide the frequency or the energy up front and the reality that it's possible. And I get you to believe in yourself and I get you to take, and inspire you to take action for my own results. I mean, I'll be 52 in June. I was doing sprints yesterday down a snowy road, sprinting. And then I come in. I'm doing push-ups. I'm doing structural movements. I do yoga. Like I'm 50. When the snow melts, my son comes up in the summer. He's 21. I'll smoke him on the trails. He's 21 years old,
Hmm.
and he's in good shape. He can rock climb better than me. He might be a little bit stronger than me in a few areas, but I'm 50. I'm gonna be 52. So this whole thing that, well, you're getting older, that is a bunch of crap. And so I get people to get out of that mentality and understand that you have your body, you are an extension of God and you've been given a gift and this vehicle needs to be taken care of. And don't listen to anybody because look at your cells. You have to cut your hair all the time, right? And your fingernails grow, and your skin is always changing and growing. And when you get a cut, it heals. Your body is a healing mechanism. Cells regenerate. If you create the proper environment, they're going to regenerate better and they're going to look younger. And I'm living testament to it. Like, so I don't look like I'm 52. I get these questions all the time. And I remember when I was at Hippocrates, they said, look, every 7 years, you will be literally, physically, literally a different person. All of the cells that make up your body today will be gone, dead, moved on. If we were to put all your cells in a little file cabinet and file them away, we'll come back in 7 years and they are completely different cells. Now the question is what are the quality of those cells going to be made of is going to be dictated by the quality of your life and your inputs. The air you breathe, the water you drink, the food you eat, the clothing you wear, and the people that you hang out with, right? Sometimes you got to detox some of them out of your life. They're really dragging you down,
Yeah. I
right?
could tell stories for days on that one, but
Yes. So anyway, to answer your question, it's like so what I do is that's what I do, and I'm kind of like a general contractor of health. I help them get the colon hydrotherapist in their area. I help them find the whatever they need, a biological dentist to make sure they don't have root canals or amalgam fillings or cavitation or alignment issues or and maybe the dentist that removed the mercury left a little piece in there and they missed it. That happens, right? We look at things like breast implants. They got to come out, ladies. Sorry. Go read the book by Dr. Susan Kolb, The Naked Truth About Breast Implants. And I've had clients that have went to her. I've sent them to her. They get the breast removed or the stuff inside there, and they've been leaking. They're all over the place. They're a mess. They're causing problems. And then that one's kind of a longer healing process. It's like
yeah.
6 months to 2 years to get after they get it removed. But then they can finally heal. Bladder slings, we've seen that where that comes out and the person instantly heals. Or the cavitations from wisdom teeth where they left a little ligament or tendon behind. It's
Hmm.
created this internal systemic infection. It's 24/7 pouring into the body. You remove that, and then all of a sudden the color comes back in their face and their hair starts growing. Like that would these are stories that we've had. The bladder sling lady, the guy with the cavitations. I had another guy. He owned a business up in Vancouver. He had stage 4 prostate cancer. I coached him personally. He went all in on the lifestyle and became one of the healthiest people I've ever seen.
Hmm.
Um, let's see what I mean. I've got athletes that I've helped, like Major League Baseball players, like AJ Puck. You can look him up, the Diamondbacks. He had a couple surgeries and stuff. He heard me, hired me, and he's doing good. He's fit. He he just because we I do a lot more than just like, hey, eat this and eat that. Like, we do movement, structural movement, yoga. I'm a chef also, so that's like one of my superpowers. I love being in the kitchen and making things that kind of look and feel and taste like what you're used to, but they're not going to kill you.
Sure.
Not processed. Like 4,300 people a day die of processed foods. Um, I helped Ruth. She lost over 100 pounds. I mean, tons of weight loss stories. Had a David RC runs Brownsville CrossFit. You can look him up. He just wanted to get under 10% body fat. He's been at 13 forever. Within 2 months, he was at 6.5. Now he's freaking out because he's like thinking he's going to get too skinny. And I said, "Don't worry, you're going to balance out." And he balanced out about 7 to 9%. But David's story was cool because he came to me for weight loss. He wanted to lose
Mhm.
some fat. And at 13%, I mean, the guy looked amazing. You couldn't even, you know what I
Right.
mean? But it was like he had this thing in his head. But what I found out was, guess what was holding him back? Well, we changed his diet a little bit, right? Got him off the
Yeah.
rice and the meat, and we went to quinoa and stuff like that, and taught him proper
Sure.
food combining. But his dad called him a fat little bastard
Mm.
growing up all the time, and so he had a self-image that he was a fat kid. And here, imagine a guy who's a
Yeah.
CrossFit athlete, competitive, CrossFit trainer, owns his own gym, 13% body fat, and he'd never taken his shirt off in public. He never even had a tank top.
So now you're speaking my language because about 12, 13 years ago, I wrote a book called Mind Over Fatter, The Secret to Thinking Yourself Thin. And it was all about that mental emotional component. I was coaching at that time and had lots of women who would come to me with things like stories of miscarriage, for example, that then kept them feeling like they had to create that protective layer
Yeah.
for a future child because they were afraid of miscarrying again, things like that, which once they let go of that emotional component, it was so much easier for them to get healthy. And I always say get healthy because nobody likes to lose anything, especially not weight. We
Yeah.
want to hang on to that as much as
Yeah,
possible.
we
That's our
definitely do.
armor for so many people. So
Well, I want to wrap up on David's story because it's
yeah,
beautiful. It's beautiful.
absolutely.
It's beautiful. So it was a beautiful summer day. And he called me up. He's like, "Hey, Tim, what's up?" And I was like, well, man, whatever I was doing. I was like, he goes, "I got to tell you, dude." And he's like, "I'm at the park with Marissa, his girlfriend, and her little daughter is like 4 years old. And she's at one of them fountains with the kids running around. And he goes, dude, he's like, I just want to let you know, he goes, this is the first time in my life. He goes, I took my shirt off in public and I was out there playing with her and I didn't have any reservations whatsoever. And it was the whole thing with his dad. He'd put that behind him. I mean, it's like, I get emotional just thinking about these things. And it's like, this was one of my first actual coaching clients. And I realized it was so much more meaningful to me than and for him just to lose the weight, but to get to the root cause was the emotional damage that his father had inflicted that he was still holding on to that had nothing to do with him as an adult today. It
Mhm.
was something he experienced in his child, and we were able to reframe that and turn it into a superpower. And here we are. He's telling me the story, and we have like two grown men. We're crying on the phone to each other in just bliss. I'm so happy for him. He was so happy for himself. And he goes, and I bought 15 tank tops. He literally went out and bought 15. He bought 15 tank tops, you know? And I was just sitting there and I was like, wow, like, yeah, sign me up for this. Sign me up for this. This is what I want to do. I'm so happy. I had no idea because when I got into this coaching thing, I'm like, I'm going to show people all the food stuff and all that stuff. But I actually had some emotional breakthroughs too, but I didn't really connect it and didn't really understood that I could do it as a coach. But then I started realizing that it's all that matters.
Yeah.
The spiritual path, the food stuff, this is easy. Like I
Right.
can show you exactly, try a bunch of different stuff. Everybody's a little different. You have to get first person experience. We'll work that out. We'll get you cleaned up, clean up your cells. We work on cellular detoxification. We work on cleaning up the small and large intestines and the organ systems that are all plugged up with, like you said, heavy metals. You can't imagine all the stuff that's inside you.
Hmm.
And it takes time to get it out, and your body can only release so much at a time. But the emotional stuff could be the biggest blockage of it all. It could be the reason why you're eating all this crap and doing all these things. I mean, look at you see it on TV. It's like the catchphrase, like the girlfriend breaks up with her boyfriend, and what does she do? She goes and eats a gallon, half gallon, or maybe a pint of ice cream.
Yeah.
Chris Farley would eat a gallon of ice cream, but do you remember? Do you remember that guy? But he was on
Yes.
like David Letterman and talking about his mom, and his mom's like, "Now, Christopher, I know it's Weight Watchers, but I don't think it works if you eat the whole gallon."
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But the emotional thing, it's such a big deal. And I've had so many people have had these emotional breakthroughs in the coaching program because now I'm looking for it.
Right.
Like, how was your relationship with your mom growing up? How was the relationship with your father? How was the relationship with your siblings? What was going on there? Did you lose somebody? Did you lose a dog? Did you lose a horse? A cat? Something you were close to, and trying to find out what it was, you know. And then, okay, just make a little note and we'll come back to that later. But we start getting onto that stuff, and that's where the real breakthroughs come by. And
Right.
I'm telling you, everybody's got something they're hanging on to, pretty much, that I've
Right.
seen. Not everybody, but a lot of people do. And usually guys are the ones that I mean, we're the masters of limitation. We just bury this stuff, and we're not showing our emotions. And we would actually see this. I actually had a story that was told to me by a doctor at that clinic, and he goes, we will get guys that are hardcore cowboys from Calgary, Canada, that, and we have them around here too. They, our town's 11,000, like 850 people, and
Hmm.
they don't like coming to town. That's going to the city. Okay,
Right.
they like to stay out long ways away from people. They hang out with cows and horses and a few of their friends. That's it in Mother Nature. And those guys that ride on these horses and they're literally having a cup of coffee next to a campfire, next to a barbed wire fence, eating a chunk of meat and a potato, they get cancer too, right? Because they're eating processed crap.
Hmm.
And then they end up, some of them, after Western medicine says there's nothing more we can do for you, now they're faced with dying. Some of them end up at like these Hippocrates detox centers and stuff like that. And he said somewhere around day 3 to day 5, they'll, as we get rid of all the food, the dope that they've been using to shove their emotions down, because every time the emotion comes up, you shove it back down with some food. Now we've got rid of all that, and now you're eating all this high vibe food and juices, and your body's cleansing. And guess what? Here comes the emotions, and they
Right.
come up. And then when they're getting a massage, they come out. And this is where
Hmm.
full grown men will start crying uncontrollably for 45 minutes up to 2 hours.
Hmm.
They can't stop. Just their body takes over. They've been holding on to it for 40, 50, 60 years. Their dad beat the shit out of them or something when they were a kid, or threw them through a window, or threw them over a fence, or threw them off a roof. These are stories I've had with my clients.
Right.
Or their mom was a drug addict, and her boy traded for 4 different boyfriends, traded her son. They slept with her son, who was like a little kid, for drugs. Okay. I have
Right.
clients that have been through some stuff. Okay. And it's like, whoa. Right. And so we have all this emotional trauma and these baggages and stuff, and that stuff comes out. And that's what we're looking for here. This
Hmm.
is where the real healing begins, is when you get that stuff out. Now you've healed. And I actually had it to me. I had it happen. I cried for 45 minutes, and I literally felt like I was floating around on a magic carpet. And what I was holding on to was a lot of hate and anger and fear around a child custody battle that just recently went through right before I went to that place.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Tim, we could talk for probably another hour, but we're reaching the end of our time here, and I want to make sure we get to our rapid fire questions. We ask these questions of every single one of our guests. They are designed to give us a little bit more insight into who you are, what makes you tick. Are you ready?
Sure, let's go.
All right, the first question. If you could choose only one natural remedy for the rest of your life, what would it be?
One natural remedy for the rest of my life. I think the most important natural remedy for me would be to take stock in myself
Mm.
and become my own doctor and to self heal and understand that I have the power to heal, and I actually don't need anything else. That I can heal with a thought. I'm still working on that myself, but I know that that's possible because I've seen spontaneous remissions in lots of people.
Yep.
And so that would be it. It's just to know that I have the power of God inside of me, and why wouldn't I learn how to tap into that?
Awesome. Number two, tell us something most people don't know about you.
Um, um, I really like playing guitar.
Ah, very cool. I
Yeah,
play
I'm
guitar as well. You have acoustic or electric?
I got it right here.
Ah, very cool.
And I try to learn a song a week. That's my goal now.
Awesome. Well, this will be the perfect follow-up question then. If I were to compile a playlist of happy music, what song would you suggest be added?
Beethoven's Seventh Symphony, second movement. Please go
Interesting.
listen to it. Please go listen to it. It's the perfect frequency. Beethoven's
Awesome.
seventh, second movement.
All right. And what is your favorite guilty pleasure?
I like to make huckleberry ice cream. But
That
let me
sounds
show you how I
good.
make it. I take a bowl. I pick the huckleberries. I freeze them, put it in a bowl, and then I take a little bit of powdered coconut milk powder,
Mhm,
organic, of course, and I stir that in there. And then as they're kind of melting, the coconut powder will encapsulate all around that huckleberry. And then I
mhm,
put water on it and I stir it just enough. It will crystallize. You got to get just the right consistency. It turns into like ice cream. Now, for those of you that got super duper sweet tooth, you could squeeze a little bit of stevia in there or monk
mhm.
fruit, or you could drizzle a little honey over it, and then it's way over the top, but it doesn't need it. And then, I eat that, and I friggin' love it. I'm a huckleberry. I mean, I don't even drink alcohol anymore, but when I moved back home to Eastern Oregon to take care of my parents, I went to the stock show, and my friend was getting some stuff, and I'm like, I don't drink, and I go, what's that stuff over there? And she goes, oh, we have beer and blah, 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 and we have homemade huckleberry something, cider or something. I'm like, oh, take one. So if you say huckleberry, I mean, I even like I knew I need some more probiotics the next day, but I had a glass of it. And I was like, oh, this stuff's good. I think I got
That's
buzzed.
awesome.
Actually, I got another one. I don't drink. I had like two of them, and I was like, it was crazy.
All right. What is the most influential book you've ever read?
Well, geez, I would have to say recently because let's just go with Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now, because that was like the first book that was handed to me that was like a spiritual book that kind of led me on a completely different path. So it was kind of a very pivotal thing.
Sure.
And then I was on a hike up in the Columbia Gorge, and I came around this crest, and I could see the valley, the whole Columbia River, and all that down below me. And I said to myself, "That's all. I don't need anything. I have everything I need. I don't need nothing. I don't need any of these worldly possessions. I have everything I need." So that's it.
Great book. Although I will say I have a hard time listening to Eckhart Tolle. Puts me to sleep very
Yeah, he's
quickly.
kind of he's kind of boring.
All right. What does the word revolution mean to you?
The word revolution to me is a word that we should be cautious of,
Hmm.
very cautious of. And because a lot of people want a revolution in health, they want a revolution. But if you really think about the root of the revolution, what is it? A revolution is a circle. You go
Hmm.
around in a circle and you end up right back to where you are. What
Hmm.
we need to do is evolve.
Hmm.
So that's where I'm at. I'm more into evolution and evolving and getting out of where we are so we're not stuck rather than ending right back up where we were.
And what does the word remedy mean to you?
Remedy means solution. It's a solution. So finding remedies to whatever ails you.
Hmm. And lastly, if you could impart one piece of wisdom onto our listeners, what would that be?
Put yourself first, love yourself, and tap into your God-given power.
Tim, it has been an absolute pleasure. For those of you interested in learning more about the Green 85 powder that we were speaking about, as well as any of the other products Tim has mentioned, and then some, go to chemicalfreebody.com. If you're interested in learning more about me, Erin, and where the types of things that I treat and the people that I'm helping, you can go to heartwinghealing.com. Tim, thank you so much for being here. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
With hope as a guiding light, through darkest days we'll fight the night. for you.